Thanks for tuning in to the Charles Novell School of Music podcast, The Best Day Yet. Here you'll find tips, insight, and information to help your music and your ministry succeed. Whether you're a singer, a musician, or a songwriter, we want to help you where you are, but we also want to help you get to where you want to go. We believe that our talents are God's gift to us, but what we do with those are our gift back to God. Yesterday's information is important, but what we can learn today will make this the best day yet. Hey everybody, welcome back to the CNS podcast, The Best Day Yet. So excited to have you. Hey, this is a milestone. This is double digits. This is episode number 10. Before we get into things, just a little housekeeping. We've got two CNS events that are coming up right around the corner. I just want to mention those briefly. We have our online school coming up the week of October 24th through the 28th. This is a almost an exact mirror of what we do at CNS each summer, but it's a convenient format in this. Everything's online. There are over 80 video courses that you can learn from. The coolest part about this is you do not have to even take off of work because we are going to give you 30-day access to all of the information. Contact us, www.cnsmusic.com, to get more information and to register for that. Also, if you're anywhere near within a couple hours of Cincinnati, Ohio, our next in-person session is our regional session that's coming up November 4th and 5th in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's going to be a great weekend. It's a Friday night and all-day Saturday of training. I will be there. Roy Webb will be there, and Brian Hudson will be there teaching that weekend. So this is a great opportunity for you to come be with us in person. If you're anywhere near that area, be listening. We have several regional dates that for 23 that we are going to be announcing shortly, and we may be close to your area and you may be able to come out and be with us. So be listening for that. Again, for more information on that, www.cnsmusic.com. Okay, we have an amazing guest in the house with us today. God sent him into my life, and he sent this person into CNS's life because he is on our staff. And by title, I think I'll just officially call him our staff pastor. This is Pastor Jon Groves from Inverness, Florida. He pastors there and has an amazing church. And can we welcome Jon Groves to our weekly podcast? Hey, Jon, how are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well.
Good, man. Thank you for being here. I'm excited about this. Our topic today is a pastor's perspective to booking. And I'm really excited because I think what we're going to do is we're going to get we're going to call you the wizard today. You're going to be the man behind the green curtain because we're going to get your angle of this whole subject of booking and maybe some do's and don'ts to the ministries that tune into this that, can help them as they're reaching out to churches and specifically reaching out to pastors.
I feel like maybe we should have some Hawaii Five-0 music playing and book 'em Dano being said.
You know what? There is an editing process to today's events. So we'll see what can happen. That big drum roll. We'll just lead in with that big old fat drum roll, right?
Yes.
Well, man, welcome. And again, I'm excited about this topic because I think our students can get so much out of this from the standpoint of how to approach this when they're dealing with a pastor. For me, we'll start with me. When I reach out, the very first thought on my head is I'm speaking to the shepherd of this house, period.
Yeah.
And my dad would say, when in Rome. And so a lot of times I'm yielding 100% to what they need. I kind of start in with, hey, I can come do whatever you need me to do. I can do just music. I can do music and speak. It's whatever your need would welcome and whatever you would want me to do. So how do you prefer to be reached? Do you like phone calls? Do you like emails? If someone is reaching you, what is the one that you're like, man, that was convenient?
All right. So um, there's a variety of ways that come into our church, and I know that it's the same for a lot of pastors. You get the phone calls, and if your church is large enough to have secretaries that can field those calls for you, that is somewhat of a help, but it can also be a hindrance because personalities can get in the way sometimes, and you have to be able to discern the person on the other end of that phone. Who are they? Why are they? What do they need? Things like that. But but what has worked best for me is um, a phone call, whether they get a hold of me or they leave a voicemail. They tell me who they are and why they're calling. I will. So let me interject this, Rob. There are guys that call and they say, "Hey, my name is such and such. My phone number is this. Call me." I don't call them back.
Right.
If you're not going to tell me who you are and why you're calling, I don't. How do I know that I'm not calling a spam number?
Sure.
So, the element of surprise does not work well with pastors. So we don't like the surprise. We want to know, why am I calling you? How much time is it going to take away from the other work that I've got going on?
Right.
So I like the phone call. I like to hear a voice, and then the option to call them back at my ability. And I try to be respectful of people that call and leave a voicemail at, and obviously sometimes things get in the way, but I try to be pretty quick about calling people back that have called and said, "Hey, this is what we need," because I know that they have a schedule they're trying to get, to book as well.
Right.
Once I can check my end and then call them back knowing this is going to be a music group, I need to know when I might be able to do something before I talk to them. And then I call them back and I just say, "Tell me who you are. Tell me what's your ministry? What are you about?" I do think that we have a little bit of an advantage. Somebody that has been on the road and done it is more apt maybe to listen
Right.
than the guy who's never been anywhere but his own town.
Right.
So that can be a hindrance to some groups.
Man, that's huge. You know what it's like to literally be on both sides of this conversation. You're the one making the call, and you're also now the one answering the call.
Yeah.
So, man, that's huge. In the fact that I think because I have personally experienced that, I think I have talked with people who have no clue about what I do. It's kind of the missed perception of, they see the 4 suits and ties on the stage after they got off the bus that pulled into the parking lot. They don't see the 32 people
Right.
represented. They don't see the 4 a.m. in the morning holding the flashlight on the side of the road when the bus was broke down. I think people in your situations are a little bit more, I think the word is sensitive to,
Yeah.
to what's happening. So with those calls, let me ask you this. And again, this is that old, I'm not pointing a finger because there's 3 in my palm pointing back at me today type of conversation. That with that phone call and you don't hear back because either there's so many things that can happen. The secretary doesn't pass the phone message on to the pastor, or the secretary, she doesn't know who you are, so she assumes that means the pastor has no idea who you are.
Right.
I've been there.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I've been there, done that. I see right there is somebody calling in. What I did, John, you don't know this, but I've already dialed my cell phone. I'm calling you trying to get a booking during our booking. But no,
I'll call you back.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Checks in the mail.
Yeah.
But again, that situation, there's all kinds of factors that can factor into you not getting a returned phone call. So,
Right.
what is, I like to say it this way: there's a thin line between pushing yourself and being pushy. Let's talk. Let's talk on the frequency of calls. When do you call back? At what point do you start becoming pushy versus trying to push yourself?
So let me offer this. Let's say a group is traveling and they've had a cancellation and they've got next Sunday they still need a place to go. I I listen for things like that. Like when is it that you're trying to book? Is it an emergency? So if a guy calls and he says, "Listen, this coming Sunday canceled on us, and we really need a place to land. Can you call me back?" If I'm not able to call them back right away for whatever reason, maybe I'm out of town or I got the message later in the day rather than early in the day. Um, I'm okay with a guy calling me the next day just to check.
Okay.
Hey, Pastor, I we're kind of in a bind here, and this is where we're at. I don't mind that, but there are groups that abuse that privilege,
Right.
and they're calling every other day, and they're saying, um, "Hey, I'm still trying to get a hold of you. Call me back. Call me back. Call me back." And I take into consideration their schedule if they'll tell me
Right.
what's going on. You got to communicate,
That's
and
good. That's good.
a lot of times groups they like the element of surprise because maybe they're worried that their ministry or who they are, what they do, would not be accepted right away, and so they try to kind of mask that, and
Wow.
that is a no for me.
Sure.
Don't try to mask what your ministry is, because once you've piqued the interest of that pastor and he says, well, this is who you are. If you show up and your ministry is different than what your persona on the phone is,
Right.
you've ended. You'll never be back.
Yeah. No,
So be very upfront, be very open, very transparent, as we say.
that's good. That's good. That's good. 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 Okay. So, uh, I would say, someone like you, Pastor John, you're going to get phone calls from people that again, you're the two-sided coin. You've done both sides of this. So you've made relationships with a lot of groups and ministries through the year. So you're going to get those phone calls from people you know. You're also, I'm sure, getting phone calls from people that you don't know. You've already given us some really good information as far as, communication. It's the success of any relationship, be it your spouse, be it members in your group, or be it that pastor you're trying to get a booking with. So leaving detailed information, not just, hey, here's my name, here's my number, call me back. Because at that point you're thinking, well, how do I get to Best Buy to buy gift cards to send to this Iranian prince? um,
Yeah.
it's scam, the red flag, and you'll have a tendency not to return that phone call. So communication is good. So when you talk with someone and you don't know them, and I'm really excited to ask you this because I have wondered this of late. Over the last couple years, I see a lot of things posted on social media out of artists and out of ministry that concerns me because I at times I'm like, this is not your digital diary. You are not journaling to yourself what has happened in your life.
Right.
The curtain is back. You're fully exposed for the entire world to see what you are typing on your social media posts. So, as a pastor, if it's someone you don't know, and I don't know, maybe even someone you do know, do you use social media to help introduce and educate you to that ministry that has just left you a voicemail on your phone?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and I'm guilty of this a lot. When somebody calls me, I immediately look up their name on Facebook,
Okay.
and so I want to know a couple of things. I want to know, are they legit,
Hmm.
or is this like somebody's garage band that decided, hey, wouldn't it be cool?
Right.
So I look up who they are. I want to see what they look like. If they offer audio, I'll listen to a clip. I'm not going to listen to 4 songs,
Right.
but I'll listen to hear a sound because I know what I know what my people like,
Right.
and so I take that into consideration. And then I also look to see, do they live their life on social media, or is social media their promotional package? So
Yeah.
if they're on there and they're like, my sister said bad words about me, and now all of a sudden I'm going to throw horse manure in her flower bed, and all I'm probably going to go, nah, maybe not.
Right.
And it's not because they don't sound good. It's not because they don't, look good or something to that effect. It's usually just because I know if that's their heart, if that's their attitude. Every dog has his day. I get that.
Right.
Everybody has a bad, happen thing in their life, and they're going to post about it. That's
Right.
the world lives on social media like that today.
Right.
But if I scroll through and that's all I see, I know that if you'll do it to them, you'll do it to me,
Exactly.
and I don't want that.
Yeah, that's my fear. That's my worry. So there was, I think I already know your answer, but let me set it up this way and then I'll ask the question. Recently, I saw a picture posted on social media and it was done as a joke, but it was a ministry that I had previously traveled with. And it's kind of like a fraternity. There's a brotherhood thing there. I saw the picture. I'm not in the picture, but I cringed for the rest of my brothers. So
Yes.
in this type of fraternity, brotherhood, we're connected. We always will be. So I have seen posts from ministries absolutely slamming a pastor over something that happened over the weekend concert. At, do you take? I mean, I know your answer. It's crazy. I don't. It's crazy. I got to ask it because, but the craziness started with the post. I mean, if you see that, do you get a little defensive for again your fraternity, your brotherhood are other pastors? But I think you've already said it. If they're going to say that about that pastor, the logical fear has to be they're going to say that about me.
Yeah, and let me add to that, Rob. Too, I don't know. I don't know that there is a way that you can always find this out, but sometimes it does come out. It just kind of happens to come to the surface. There have been groups that it seems like that's their go-to thing, is always to say something negative.
Right.
The pastor didn't give us enough chicken, and the room only had 2 beds instead of a pull-out couch too, and it was this and that. It was always a problem, and so they're the complainers. They always have something negative to say,
Right.
and if I see that, I typically just say no right away. And they might have a great sound, and that's the sad thing, is they cut their own throat, really.
Right.
um, you know don't let your negativity be your testimony, because
Mm,
that's who you are, and that's who
wow.
people will remember you as.
Wow.
So always be positive, and even when you get treated dirty, I mean, Jesus did, right? So
Right.
even when you get treated dirty, it's okay. It's okay to have an opinion, but our little joke is wait 2 or 3 weeks and then post your suggestion. Just don't use any names.
Wow.
If something happens to you, and it happens
Right.
to
Oh,
missionaries, it happens to
absolutely.
preachers, evangelists, whoever they are. They go and they get treated bad, and unfortunately, that does happen. But instead of name dropping and saying I was with Pastor so and so at this church, and this is what they did to me, wait it out a little bit, and then use it as a testimony to say, hey, you know what? Sometimes this kind of stuff happens, and it's hurtful. And just so everybody knows, pray for us.
Right.
I can take that. I don't mind that.
Yeah. I think we've got to be so careful across the board with our ministries, with our social media. Um,
Yes.
it's simple for me. Social media is not the hill I'm going to die on. It's real simple. There are so many things I want to say. There are so many ways that I want to respond. You're not going to change someone's opinion, you know. I mean, it's kind of hard. Well, no, hang on. Let me back up. Yes, you are going to change someone's opinion. You're your 30 seconds of freedom may cost you an hour and a half booking with that
Yeah,
pastor somewhere.
you
So
changed your opinion of you.
so
Yeah,
absolutely you are. So I just think across the board, everybody, we got to be careful with our social media. It's not our personal electronic diary. Everyone sees it's there.
yeah.
Just be careful, everybody, what you post on social media. Let's talk about the so the bookings happen. The group is there. Let's take our last few minutes we have here to talk about this.
Okay.
Um, well, I'm going for the jugular today. I'm in that kind of mood. What are some things that groups do when they get to your place that just really affect them from ever coming back?
So I'll use this as an example. Okay. I had I had someone that called me. I did not know them, but they were recommended to me by a fellow preacher, and they did a great concert for my friend. But this guy called me and he said, "This is who I am. I just sang for them." I said, "I know who you are. I was letting know that you would be calling me." And he said, "I do shows in," and he talked about a particular um, um a theme park that has gospel singers come in often.
Hmm.
I'll say no names there, but anyway, he said, "I've done this many seasons with them." So I said, "Great." I said, "But do me a favor. When you called to book this with me, you called to tell me that you traveled in music evangelism. You're evangelizing the gospel through your songs, and that's why you're here. I want you to spend time ministering to the hearts of our people." So he said, "Absolutely, I'd be glad to." And then he took about 40 minutes during the concert to brag up what I asked him not to. So I waited till the concert was over, and then he came to me with his date book, and he said, "So I'd like to come back again next year about this same time." And he was telling me that he was planning to do that, and I quickly told him no, thank you. And he kind of got all offended and wanted to know why. And I said, "Because I asked you not to do that, and that's the first thing you did."
Mm.
And he said, "Well, that's my bread and butter." And I said, "Well, what we asked for was a ministry that would come in and trust God to minister through them."
Let's close with this. Uh, give us the perfect scenario um, when from start to finish, from a cold call that you get maybe from someone that you don't know to the last person you leave praying with in the altar at their service. Just give us that perfect scenario.
Okay, so I'll use a group's name and I'll tell you exactly what God did with them at our church.
Okay.
We had Mark and Andrea Forrester come,
Okay.
and they've been at our church in the past. So we did know them, uh, in that light. But Mark called and he said, "Hey, listen, we've got some opportunities. Here's some dates that we're trying to fill. Would you be interested in having us to come in for a concert?" And so I said, tell me what are you looking to do? Do you want to do just a portion of the service, or do you want the entire service? And he said, "I will do whatever you need. If you want us to just do music and then you preach, or if you want me to preach, or if you want us to sing the entire thing, whatever you want, we're willing to fill in." I like that. I
Right.
like the flexibility.
Right.
And so I said, "Mark, I think we need to do this as a whole concert." And he said, "Okay." So they came. When they walked in, they began to set up some things that Um, Mark and Andrea, they have a big screen that they put up with some LED lights and things. Well, we
Right.
had at the time, we had a man in our church that will have seizures
Mm.
by that. And so I went to Mark, I'm very sorry, but I didn't know that you had this. And I said, this man in our church can't come if you set that up. And he said, we don't have to have it. So they immediately took it down and they set all the rest of their stuff up.
Right.
The service in and they sang. I like the fact that Mark is very sensitive to watch the pastor.
Mm-hmm.
He watched to see, and we've talked about this. If the pastor ever felt like he needed to get up and address something in his church during that concert, Mark is sensitive to that.
Right.
He watches for that. And so he watched for that. We got down to the very end of what we thought the end of the concert was. And Mark gave an invitation, and probably it would have just closed out very calmly and all of that, which would have been fine. But I didn't feel like that it was over yet. And so I stepped up while Mark played softly on the keyboard and Andrea was ready to sing again. And I just addressed something in our church that was going on that only we would know about.
Right.
And Mark carried that invitation. Rob, our invitation itself was 2 hours.
Wow.
When it was done, and we closed out, they didn't treat our people like, oh, it's late, now we have to get on the road to get out of here. They carried themselves to the table. They hugged necks. They shook hands. They signed, pictures. They sold CDs, just like the concert had only been 30 minutes. I mean, very professional. We have them scheduled to come back because they were so respectful of what God was doing.
Right.
It wasn't about them doing a show.
Mm.
And I like that.
I think maybe in this whole approach, Pastor Jon, if you expect the unexpected, you can allow God to move and to do what he needs to do. My dad used to say it this way. He would say, Robbie, if you impress them with your playing and you impress them during that service, it's going to affect your product table. But if you touch their heart, it's going to affect your altar service. And at the end of the day, that's why we do what we do. So, you know what? Reach out to those pastors. Be you, be genuine, be real. Make that phone call expecting the unexpected, and then watch what God can do on the other side. Pastor Jon, thank you for your time today. This has been great. I love you. I love you big. I'm so thankful you're a part of our team at CNS, and so thankful you took your time out to speak into these people today on the CNS podcast, The Best Day Yet.
Thanks for listening to the Charles Novell School of Music podcast, The Best Day Yet. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter under the name the Charles Novell School of Music. And for more information on CNS and our upcoming events, like our online school, our weekend regional sessions, our creative coaching, and our pastor's retreat, you can visit us at our website at www.cnsmusic.com. As you've listened to this episode, we hope that you've gained some information that you can apply to your music and to your ministry to make today the best day yet.